I'm going to say one thing and then turn it over to Nick, and I think we're going to quit. But the key players that Chris has identified are not the Exxons and the Chevrons and so forth. It's the medium-sized companies who are not now, as he says, not coming into this parish and drilling. There are areas, and he identified the areas in this parish. Now, there are some parish leaders here, and they can better answer this question, but when you talk about the next 20 years, the next 25 years, the next 30 years for this parish, it's not going to be shopping centers. It's not going to be high-rise office buildings. It's going to be people who work and live and have jobs in this parish, who have the jobs, to have the homes, to spend the money in this parish. The lifeblood is going to be from those companies, getting them back, and the business climate is going to be the key. Now, we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And your elected officials cast a vote. Maybe it was informed, and maybe it wasn't. But it is up to the people in this room to lobby with those elected officials and those who are running for office to have the will of the people in this parish followed. And I leave it at that and turn it over to Nick. Thank you.
We just want to thank everybody for coming. We had a third speaker scheduled, but came to our attention. There were some negative flyers put out. We're not about that. This is sponsored by the local businesses of Plaquemines Parish, the Madairs, the Dinettes, Contractors Inc., J-Rag. That's all the guys you see on the board. I mean, this is us right here. And each one of those companies have employees, and each one of those employees has a family. And that's who it affects. That's a lot of people. That's just a fraction. So we just want to get the information out there. We want you to make an educated choice. And so far, there's been 2 presentations, both by the attorneys, that are suing on behalf of the parish. And I know it's hard being in public office. I can't imagine. You have tough decisions. You can't please everybody. If you try to do that, you please nobody. So I know it's tough. You know, I don't fault the parish council for voting for this. I'm sure these lawyers came in, did their song and dance, very convincing. They do it for a living. They come in and they say, hey, look at all the riches you'll get. You'll be able to hire all these contractors to fix the coast. And as my father said, this won't fix the coast. This won't do anything. And as Chris showed us, there's a lot more at work here. So at that, I want to thank you all again for coming. We really do appreciate the support. I want to give you the information, and hopefully everybody will turn out November 4th and vote. Thank you very much. Wait, I'm sorry, one more thing. If you have a question, you know, I want to open the floor up to questions. If anyone has a question, refer to Chris or my father. If not, you know, grab a drink or, you know, hang out, talk amongst yourselves, but be careful going home. Is there any questions? Anyone have anything that came to them during the presentation they want to ask? Guess that's it. It's cold in here. Let's go home, everybody. All right, go ahead. Dan?
Basic. Those who voted for the lawsuit, can they call the lawyers and say, drop it tomorrow?
My father can answer that, but watch what happens with those attorneys if you tell them that.
The answer is yes. Under the fee agreement, that parish, the parish has reserved the right to cancel it. And I suppose it was put in there by wise people who thought that this day might come. But the answer is yes.
Real quick, Dan, tell them about the contingency fee.
Yeah, they are trumpeting the fact that we're not working on a contingency fee, and that is true. But under the statute, they get an attorney's fee. And in the fee contract, which I've carefully read, under the contract, what they have reserved, the lawyers have reserved, is the right to pay themselves a fee if they settle the case that does not have to get court approved. Now, they trumpet the fact any fee we get is going to be court approved. That is not true. If they settle, it will not be court approved. Now, let me tell you why that's significant. Let's assume I'm suing Al Madare, which I would never do because it would beat the hell out of me. But if I sue Al Madare, and I say to Al Madare, now look, we're going to settle for $100,000. Let's allocate this. You keep $60,000 for damages and give me $40,000 for attorney's fee. I'm free to make any deal I want with Al. I'm suing him, he's paying me and my client. The parish won't get a vote in that. So these lawyers are excited enough about this fee, although it's not a contingency fee, that I heard it wasn't Phil, it was John Comouche say he had gone to Calcasieu Parish, to Cameron Parish, to Terrebonne Parish, to Lafourche Parish, to St. Bernard, to Jefferson, and to here. He's been all over the state, every coastal parish, because they want this fee. It's big. And that's, when we talk about it kicks harder than it shoots, it's not kicking them, it's kicking you. And it's going to hurt you. But the fee is going to be in their pocket, and John Comouche is going to take it back to Baton Rouge. And when he's gone, with no indemnity agreement, with no promises to pay you for your losses, you're the ones being kicked. So that's what this is about. Any other questions?
Yeah, question, please.
Yes, Charles
There's
Ballet.
always, we say 2 sides of the story, we know something's 10 sides of the story. For this great group of Plaquemines people here tonight, were the proponents of this matter invited to come in with their expert, their people to present something? Were they invited to come tonight to present?
Yes, they were. They were Bobby. They were invited.
I mean, were they told you got 30 minutes on the program, an hour program, something?
No, we wanted to share information, so open questions. As my father said before, we'll debate this in any form they want. You know, it's not around.
I've told them, Charles, I told them at the end of, when I was here last time, I said, I will come and I will come to any debate, any forum, and I will speak with you side by side, and I'll tell the other side of the story. And I offer that to them today.
I appreciate that, and I got multiple hats, and we all do in this room. And I'm not wearing my PA one tonight, because if I wear that one, I would say we definitely have to hear from both sides, because I can never try a case without defense having to pay for it, as well as my prosecutors have paid for it. But we're getting that one wrong like that. I'm a fortunate person. I lived in Plaquemines Parish all my life, born and raised in home place. Built a marsh up there quite well, from down Merrill's place up to Braithwaite to all over the place. I really miss our parish, I miss our marsh tremendously like this. We know that's our big, big loss, a tremendous loss that we all have. And we all appreciate years ago, we know some companies did a pretty good job, especially I remember LL&E did a great job years ago out there when they built dikes and dams. If you ever fished out there, you knew when you looked at pipeline bulkheads, you had the rock pile, you could find some oysters, you could catch some fish on the outside. That was always so. But that stopped sometime in like in the 60s, early 60s, I'd say. They stopped doing any of that. So it's a question of why. That's the question I've always had. I like to get an answer. I don't know what it is. Like this. So to me, it's always a big question. What has happened? I have the good fortune also. I worked with the Sea Grant legal program in the early 70s in Baton Rouge when I was in college. A great job, paid a few bucks at the Baton College. I learned a lot, of course, about the legal system with marsh restoration. And back then, nobody wanted to hear about losing marsh. I worked for the director of it at LSU, and with Woody Gagliano, which is a great guy, I think with all of you, that really goes forward on. He's done a marsh work for anybody that's wrong with it. He was tremendous like this, working with a person like that. Tried to preach that we're losing marsh, folks. We need to do something now. Nobody would listen. Delaware was doing a little something, Maryland like this, all these other states that had very little marsh, but they were losing it. So they wanted to take action. They did some things to prevent their marsh from losing like this. We really didn't worry about it much. We had plenty of marsh. We could always go out and shoot ducks, get oysters, fish, whatever it is. Nobody really concerned about it that much. Until now, we see where it is. It's so drastically gone. And so it's a big issue about why is it gone, what happened. And me, as an attorney trying cases all my life, I know I like to hear from both sides. I like to have a fair day. I like to hear people present things, whatever it is. Whatever it is, I want to hear it. And I'm going to go a little bit further than that. I'll say, in my experience, I was involved in tobacco litigation. I was involved in Harvey Term litigation over here in the Harvey Canal. And I know years ago, tobacco litigation, for example, in North Carolina, a long time ago like that. Believe me, in a room with air like this, it wasn't too nice. People are going to lose their tobacco forms like that. But lo and behold, it was discovered like this. There were memos where the tobacco companies knew if they put nicotine in the cigarettes like this, people were more addicted. It was a bigger issue like this. They could sell more cigarettes. Harvey litigation now like this. Lo and behold, we find out that Exxon knew, and yeah, I think we were involved in some of that stuff, that Exxon knew that in the United Kingdom, in Britain like this, those companies, you couldn't do what we were doing to pipes here in the Harvey Canal. Wash out the radiation. It caused cancer, serious cancer, lots of problems. Yet we were doing it here in the States because there was a law nobody complained about it. Nobody knew better. Us dumb coon asses didn't know any better. but yet in some other areas they weren't allowed to do it. Lo and behold, through litigation, through experts, great attorneys like Ned, and great attorneys on the other side like that, those things come to light, and people discover things and find out the truth of things. And that's what matters all about litigation is to get an answer, to get to the truth of things. What causes things, why. And through those kind of actions like this, it was determined like this, what caused it like that. And of course, that matter, that way has been shut down, Exxon has been ordered to pay all the land restoration, many things like this there, because they should have, because their board knew that you couldn't do it. You couldn't do that kind of activity, you should not have done it. So that comes to cases like this, and I understand the whole thing that Chris talked about, I've heard him speak before, and basically the talk is that we're thinking, maybe we shouldn't even live here. It's kind of what it is. And there's no question, there are many areas in our marsh, I know the Adams Fault area quite well, the land something like this many feet. That causes some of our loss. But we also have other things that cause our loss. When Ned talked about the matter over in St. Mary Parish, you know who the plaintiff was in that case, or at least one of the big cases over there? Was Governor Mike Foster. There's no bigger proponent of business industry in Louisiana in the governorship than Mike Foster. He, and anybody would agree, in the last 50 years at least, as far as a tort reform person that changed things like this, Mike Foster is the leader of it by far. It was his case, his property, where he sued the oil companies because of the legacy, because of the oil pits, the pollution that was done. Mike Foster did that as the plaintiff in those cases. And it's like I said, there's nobody like this, that a bigger anti-trial lawyer, anti-anything than Mike Foster was, like this by far. So my whole point of this is that please, people need to be patient. You say, I want to hear from the other side. I have to do it every day of my work, as I said. I want to hear, let me hear the other side stand up and tell me what's so. I want to hear, I want to weigh it. I want to weigh what it is. Because I know in my heart, what I'm most concerned with is that Plaquemines Parish is about half today what it was years ago. And I remember as a kid, no man's land. Those of me with that out here like this, it was tremendous like this. It's all water now. There's no such thing as no man's land like this compared to what we had. That's the biggest loss that we have, and why? And what can we do to restore it? What can be done? If somebody's responsible for 30%, 30%. If somebody's responsible for 50%, 10%, no percent, whatever it is. Whoever it is, to me, should be what it should be like this one thing. We need to try to get Plaquemines Parish back to what we had like this. Is the best thing we can do. And if we hear from all parties, whatever it is, so be it. If that's to me the best way to do it like this. I can't tell the judge about like this, that guy's got to pay, or in my DA role like this, that guy's guilty judge, we don't need a trial. Why do we have to have a trial? Like this, he's guilty. It doesn't happen that way. Like this. We have a good legal system, and it works. And it works like this. And generally, if parties allowed to have their day like this to do things to me, generally, I'd say it works. Is it perfect? No, by not many means. They'll now argue all day long about who should pay, who should not pay a particular case like this. There's no question about it like that. But as a general rule, like this, as far as allowing people their day like this, when they do things like this, it works like this. And a guy like Chris, a great geologist like that, can present this thing. Next guy can present this thing like this. All I'm saying is that people should keep their minds and everything open as much as they can to find out like this, what has really happened to Plaquemines Parish and the whole coast of Louisiana for that matter, and where are we going with it like this, and how do we get it back? We know Washington has to do a lot, and everybody's just
With all due respect, I appreciate what you're saying, and that's why we're here tonight, to hear both sides of the argument. I wish you were there at the church meeting when the lawyers gave their presentation and said, no questions. You can't ask us a question. We're done. And the reason they said that was because when they first gave their first presentation, they didn't know he was going to be here. And they thought we were some dumb coon asses. They were going to buy into the lawsuit. And my father stood up. I asked him, when this first started coming, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Why? Let me figure this out. Let me call the guy that I think would know the most about this. I asked him, he told me. And I'm glad that you're saying that. There needs to be two sides to every story. And tonight's the first time you're hearing the other side. And
I said that afternoon, I think it was at an afternoon lunch meeting, and I say again, and please tell Phil or anyone else, if they ever want to have a debate, and I can go, and he can go, or he can go, and I can go, we can both present it. I'll be delighted to do it. Unlike Phil, I'm not making any money. What I'm here to do is just to get the other side of the story out. Doesn't put any money in my pocket. I'm not blaming Phil for making money. But that is a debate I would welcome. And,
That's what I'd like to see.
well, it takes two, and I'm here, and I'll come back. So, we do need to get the answers, but, you know, getting answers after you've run out a lot of jobs is not going to work, I don't think. I think you want to get the answers before you take precipitous action. And precipitous action seems to me to be to cost this parish jobs. Now, maybe you got to sacrifice some jobs to fix the problem, but it's my belief, and I will debate this lawsuit doesn't fix the problem. And that's the debate we need to have, because I think I can make that showing. Because all I got to do is take their own lawsuit and use it to show that it will not fix this problem. So anyway.
Yeah, I was an opponent of the lawsuit initially, because I don't like litigious things. I like for all the money to go right to coastal restoration and not the lawyers. But if you take the assumption, all of Chris's assumptions, that says there's no use in doing it, because I thought we could build mid-barrack area diversion, prove that we could build land, because I know we can because we did diversion projects off the Port St. Philip diversion, and prove that it could do it, then the oil companies go to, because I've been lobbying them for 2 years, to American Petroleum, is to come in and sponsor diversion. Take the biggest black eye you got in your history and make the right, and then use it for TV commercials from now until the end of time. Look at this, we made good. But if we use Chris's assumptions that we cannot fix it, and we're sinking, and we can't live here anymore, I gotta go into lawsuit to get the money, because if the oil companies are using that with no hope, we gotta do what we can to save ourselves.
Well, and look, if you're right that we take the money, if that's what this is about, but you don't have to go. I think I heard Chris say that not in our lifetime will any of this stuff go. We have over 100 years to fix
I've
it.
been making my living on the water for 34 years in yours. It's gone since 1978. It's gone. There's nothing left. The water is on the left. It's happening in my lifetime. Now, Chris, one thing I would like to know, and I'm not anti-oil. I'm just speaking facts. Those fault lines that we've been talking about, that's the same place that you want to suck the oil from. When you take 1.3 billion barrels out of there, did that help it slide? I don't know.
I would go back, that's why I showed Bayou Pension Fee, where the canals were dug, where there was no lane loss. Not only that, if you know anything about oil and gas extraction, that field was put on compression. If they actually put compressors on the surface, and they drew it down to 5, the original reservoir pressure was 9,000 pounds. They took it down to 500. The reason I use that field, if there's anywhere in South Louisiana where extraction should have caused subsidence, it's that field, and there's no subsidence.
You say you sucked 1.3 billion barrels out of the place, and that's the place that sunk, and this fault line
Go
is there.
back up. I'll put the slide back up. There's actually not a very good correlation between where sinking is and where the fuel's
I
going.
mean, when you suck everything out, what happens? You just sit there with an empty hole? You pump water in? I don't know.
Yeah, what happened? I can tell you.
I just know for a fact that we can build land. I got a thing that I sit on the framework development team for the coastal master plan. And you look at Fort St. Philip, the terracing project we did after Katrina, we built 1,000 acres of land for $1.2 million versus 1,000 acres by DuPont for $40 million. So diversions are the answer as far as I'm concerned, and I think that we can build land, and we've proved it already on a small scale. I think we can do it on a larger scale. We just have to learn to manipulate that.
Well, look, there's a lot to say for practical knowledge versus science knowledge. And this is a debate that should have happened before this lawsuit got filed. You know, this is not the time to be doing it with the risk of jobs being lost. I would love to have had that debate. That's the kind of question that should have been asked, that should have been resolved before somebody took precipitous action for filing a lawsuit. And my only premise in standing up here is, having practiced law for 41 years, I know that if I'm a plaintiff's lawyer and there's an ambulance, if I follow that ambulance, I'm going to get a client. And I can be a lawyer all I want, but unless I got a client, I'm not a profitable one. So I know what happened here. This is about a fee. And if I thought it was about fixing the coast, I wouldn't be standing here.
But does this mean that they're not culpable for any of the damage? They shouldn't pay because we can't save it? Or do we take and let them come help us to put diversions in on their own? That way there's no litigious fees involved in it. but we can get the help to do it. I think they ought to come to the table without all of us.
Well, I think,
If I may, Ned, let me just, are you familiar with Million Bay Land Company?
no, I'll be,
Buying
Can I-
money club, the Lower Abbeville, that goes to city, that area?
yeah. I'll
Hey,
be-
it's a perfect thing to see. I was so fortunate to be invited to a friend of a friend of a friend. There's people down there, Rich McElhenney's, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I just went through, luckily. But anyway, lucky for them, they required that Exxon would maintain all their banks, all the old canal banks, everything years ago. I went down in the duck hunt last year. I was amazed. I was so thrilled because it reminded me of the marsh that I grew up in the back that we had like this years ago. Because they required Exxon constantly to maintain all the banks like this, of all canals, of all pits, everything they had like this. Because I think in some deal they sold Exxon, and in the deal that they sold, they got the hunting rights to the McElhenney people, and they would get Exxon. So they got a barge out there doing everything that they got to be working on it a lot. And that's down below Abbeville, way out in the Gulf, Delta, way before our Delta here, right?
Exactly.
Way back when, way back
Those
when.
marshes are
But yet
4,000
it's still
years old.
because they spent the time and the money keeping it up, and they still doing it right now, just won't like this, keeping it up like this. They still have good fish. And if you look at any of our pipeline leases, we were looking at some from one company here a while back, like if you look at the pipeline leases, they have to maintain it. We all knew when pipelines were put in, it wasn't any bigger than this dance floor like this, where they put a pipeline through. Now, those areas are like 5 times wide.
Look, Charles,
Many times
Charles,
wide. So
doesn't,
nobody put a machine in there, nobody put a machine in there to maintain those banks, to keep things as they are. So we know the wash machine effect, where the water comes in, how it washes everything like this there. And they were the folks like this to me that had the know-how to do it, had the experience to do it, and the money to do it, and make the profit to do it like this. And they could have done that, they could have maintained those banks and those canals. To me, that's the party that could have done it, should have done it.
didn't you just start off by saying Exxon was obligated in those leases?
Absolutely,
Okay, somebody put that in a lease.
absolutely.
Well,
Why did not Parish do that? Why did not Parish?
Didn't happen here.
The rest of us?
didn't happen. That's not what this is about.
That's the tricky part. If you read the oil leases, if you read the pipeline leases, they say that the company shall maintain things as they are. You read it. You can't imagine anybody being allowed to put an oil pit,
Why didn't-
allow the stuff to leach out and kill marsh, and it kills everything around. If you look at the old oil pits, any of stuff is there. Why would you be allowed like this to have this oil pit like this? That we all know, we all fished that like this years ago, thought it was great, catching trout around these things with players like this. But yet that all leached out like this. If you look at the maps, if you look at all the survey things that you have there, you see where it's this size, and it's this bigger, and this bigger, bigger.
Charles,
It
this
kills
is,
everything.
but this lawsuit, and you've read it, it's about one piece of legislation, Coastal Zone Management
Absolutely.
Act. Okay, this lawsuit is premised on that act and upon this parish and this state granting permits under this act. So you look to the permits that were granted from 2001 by this parish on, and you look statewide to the permits that were granted by the various parishes whenever they adopted their plans. That's what this lawsuit's about. I agree with you. In a more wonderful world, all of those things would have happened like where you went duck hunting. But they didn't, and that's what not what this lawsuit is about. It has nothing to do with those things. I wish it were. I'm talking about the reality of this lawsuit.
If somebody's required to pay for some damage, because it's not technically correct as a lawsuit, then it's a problem.
Charles, how about if I haven't technically armed robbed this young lady, but you're gonna put me in jail, but I really haven't armed robbed her? No, that's not the way it works.
I know you're not wrong.
All right, and I know you wouldn't take money from somebody simply because you want it, not because you deserve it. That's what this is about. This is about what this lawsuit has claimed and what it will do. And those two things don't connect.
I would welcome, I would say this, I like hearing this myself. When you mentioned these other meetings that they had, I wasn't present, I wasn't involved like this. If this group, whoever put all this on, would have another night like this, and have a presentation by each side, and forum, so to speak.
We're about sharing information. That's why you're here. That's why
Make, so
everybody
to
was
speak.
invited.
I know,
It's open
but
to
I-
the public. The other meetings.
Charles, are you saying that you brought this lawsuit and not to the people that's in business in this parish?
I'm for everybody.
Huh? You don't talk like it.
I'm for everybody. I'm for Marsh. I don't like how Marsh people.
Well, I can tell you this debate isn't about whether we're losing coast. Geologists, we are losing coast. Now, I'm not a geologist, so I can't tell you exactly why. I know I want more coast. Hunting and fishing, our family, everyone's down here. We want more, and if we can get more, there's other ways to go about it. But suing someone for something they might not have done, or regurgitating bad science that have been used in other cases, the levy lawsuit, the legacy litigation, isn't the way to do it. And that's all we're saying. We want you to have information. We wish the council would have more information before making a decision. Unfortunately, were given a song and dance. They voted in 2013. It's been a year. November 2013 is when they were voted. I don't ever remember them hearing the other side. But as Mr. Ballet said, it's important to have both sides. You make your own decision. All right, thank you. And look, we're not here to beat up candidates. This is a tough job. I know you're not, and I know. We want to I thank you all for coming out and being open to hearing this, and that's what this is all about. And I want to say thank you. We're going to close the meeting, but I'm glad there's debate. That's what needs to happen. There needs to be a debate, and we need to make the right choice on November 4th. We need to talk to our candidates. So thank you very much, all of you, for coming out. This is an open meeting. We had questions, and we're not afraid. We're not hiding from anything. We want to talk about it. We appreciate everybody's opinion. We really do. And I love this parish, and I want to raise my family here. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.